Hello everyone, my name is Viyaan Chaudhry. I'm a student of Guruji Pandit Sanjay Rath. Today I'm going to talk about seeing the nature and characteristics of your spouse from the 7th house of your Navamsha chart. See, the 7th house of Rashi chart only shows your attitude towards your partner and marriage. But to know about your partner, especially your first partner, we have to see the 7th house of your Navamsha chart. And 7th house of Navamsha chart also shows your sexual nature and sexual drive. That is, whether you have a high sexual drive or low sexual drive, that also we see from the 7th house of your Navamsha chart. Now, before telling the result of different planets in the 7th house of Navamsha chart, let me give you a word of advice that a lot of people do not have their correct Navamsha chart with them. So unless you have some knowledge about your Navamsha chart or unless your birth time has been correctly rectified, do not come to a conclusion about planets in your Navamsha chart. So with this disclaimer, let me now talk about different planets in the 7th house of Navamsha chart and what all characteristics and nature of your spouse they will indicate. If Sun is in the 7th house of your Navamsha chart, you will be very wealthy, at least by the time you become an adult and become eligible for marriage. And it is also possible with Sun in the 7th house that you will receive proposals for marriage because of your or your family's financial status. Now, the spouse of a person having Sun in the 7th house will surely have a bit of an ego. And depending on the status and strength of the Sun, the spouse could be independent, responsible, courageous, and in some cases, spouse can also be a bit of a recluse. This is because when Sun appears in the sky, everything else just disappears and Sun is the only entity moving in the sky. And this becomes symbolic of Sun being a loner, a recluse. See, all the planets in your horoscope represent the people in your life. So if you have Sun in the 7th house of your Navamsha chart, this means that your spouse will be a human representation of the Sun. So if we observe the traits of the Sun, we will also understand the traits of the person who is represented by the Sun. Now, continuing with the traits of the spouse represented by Sun in the 7th house, such a spouse can also be punishing towards you as Sun is a fiery planet and fire is cruel by nature. If Sun is strong, spouse may prefer to do things in a routine and may also be interested in music, musical instruments, or reading books, even spiritual books. Spouse could also have a larger head compared to an average human head. Spouse could also behave like royalty and may want his partner to treat him like one. In extreme cases, spouse could be exploitative and demanding in nature, and Jupiter's influence on such a Sun will curtail these negative traits. If a man has Sun in the 7th house, his female partner generally has straight and silky hair, and especially in her younger days, she can be very slim in her build. Now, talking about person's own sexuality, when Sun is in the 7th house of Navamsha chart, such a person can have excessive sexual drive because Sun represents the king, and we all know how kings used to prefer having multiple partners. Even the spouse of a person having Sun in the 7th house will have her sexual drive which is above normalcy, leading her to multiple relationships or affairs. But if Jupiter is having an influence on the Sun in the 7th house, it will control these excessive tendencies of both the native and his spouse. Sun in the 7th house can also give a secret relationship or marriage. For example, a couple may have started living in together and their families may not even be aware of this for quite some time. So in such a scenario, the couple may have to sustain themselves. That is, there may not be any support from the families, at least initially. Sun can also give a marriage for the sake of having children. Now let us talk about Moon in the 7th house of Navamsha chart. When Moon is in the 7th house, you could get married because you or your partner got pregnant. So in marriages where we see a child coming much before the normal 9-month duration, counting from the date of marriage, we know it has likely been given by the Moon. Because Moon is not only the significator for mother, it is also the significator for people. So Moon's agenda is not only to make a woman pregnant, but is also to populate this planet with as many people possible. So when a relationship is given by the Moon, there are chances that the woman will become pregnant, after which the obvious step of the couple will be to marry each other. A recent example of such a case is that of Ranbir Kapoor, who got married in April 2022 when he was under the Antardasha of Moon, and Moon is in the 7th house of his Navamsha chart. And the birth of his child happened in about 7 months from the date of his marriage. And because Mercury is also conjunct this Moon in the 7th house, his spouse Alia Bhatt is much younger than him. Now coming back to the results of Moon in the 7th house, Moon can also bring two people together who were feeling lonely in life, as Moon does not like being lonely. So two lonely people coming together is surely a match made by the Moon. Moon in the 7th house will give a very learned spouse, and it is also possible that there can be an age gap between the couple where your partner from Moon can be older than you. Also, in some cases, partner can already be married or a divorcee. So, Moon can also indicate an affair with a married man or a married woman. The affair between Moon god and Tara, the wife of sage Jupiter, is written in our scriptures as well. Moon god is also known to have married the 27 daughters of Daksha Prajapati, and these 27 daughters represent the 27 nakshatras we have. So, a person having Moon in his 7th house will also have tremendous sexual energy within himself. And the person having Moon in 7th house may not discriminate between a bachelor or a married person while pursuing for a relationship or an affair. In extremity, Moon in 7th house can be like a bull in heat running astray in the market. The spouse of a person having Moon in 7th house can have an interest in singing, cosmology, or history. Spouse can be very caring, sensitive, emotional, and attached to family, as Moon is the significator for family. In some cases, spouse can be working for a social cause or for the benefit of the society in some manner. Spouse can also be working in human resources or the mental health industry. Generally, when a man has Moon in his 7th house, his partner can be a woman who is older than him, and she'll be very caring and can also be motherly towards him, as Moon is the significator for mother. And because Moon rules food, the partner from Moon can also feel like cooking or getting delicious food for the native. Now let us talk about Mars in the 7th house of Navamsha chart. When Mars is in the 7th house, you may admire your partner a lot. You may even be a fan of your partner. So you can do anything for your partner because you can be in absolute awe of him. But when this admiration ends with the passage of time, anger could come into the relationship. Because somewhere you initially saw your partner with rosy eyes which did not give you a clear vision of your partner. So when that phase of admiration ends, misunderstanding, arguments, even violence can come up in a relationship given by Mars, as Mars is the significator for violence and fights. The possibility of these negative aspects will be more if Mars is very strong or is placed in fire signs. Mars is a cruel planet by nature, so there is a possibility that your partner could be cruel towards you either verbally or physically. Because Mars rules bad and harsh language, your partner's words can be so harsh that they can just pierce through your heart. Mars is anyways the significator for brahmacharya, that is celibacy, so Mars by itself is not an ideal planet for love and romance. And this is exactly why Mars is in Marana Karakasthana when it is placed in the 7th house. But if Mars is influenced by other planets, then it can give something which is complete opposite of celibacy. That is, it can give a lot of fiery passion in the relationship. For example, if Rahu has an influence on Mars in the 7th house, the native's celibacy vows will be broken and he will get into a relationship or marriage, as Rahu causes stambhana on Mars. Mars can also give an age gap between the couple, and Mars can surely give you a partner whose financial and social status is lower than yours. So your thinking and lifestyle can be completely different from that of your partner. A recent example of a person having a partner from Mars is that of Katrina Kaif, where Vicky Kaushal is her partner from Mars. And there is a considerable gap in the financial and social status of Katrina and Vicky Kaushal. Mars can also give an intercaste or interracial marriage. And because it is an intercaste or interracial marriage, in some cases it is possible that your family or your mother may not be happy with this decision of yours. Because Moon rules both family and mother, and Moon gets debilitated in the sign of Mars. In extreme cases, family can sever their connection with you, or you may have to put up a big fight to marry the person represented by Mars. But because it is Mars, it will give you the guts to go ahead and marry such a person because Mars is a fighter. Mars will surely give the spouse a bit of a temper, and he will be competitive in nature. He can also be a bit controlling. And he can also be involved in some kind of an outdoor sport or even some form of a martial art if Mars is strong. Spouse will also be quick to judge someone as a bad person if he sees him doing an unjust act. He may also react quickly in order to stop any injustice happening around him. Now, Mercury in the 7th house of your Navamsha chart can also give a lot of age gap between you and your partner, where your partner can be much younger than you. Your partner can also have an ageless face, and he may always look younger than his age. If Mercury is unafflicted, your partner will have a flawless and beautiful skin, but if Mercury is afflicted, your partner may have some skin issues. Your partner can have eyes which resemble the eyes of a beautiful deer. Your partner will be a learned man for sure. Your partner may not belong to a very good descent or lineage, and your partner could also be an excessive nitpick, picking on every little detail. He could also be talkative, and even while conversing, your partner could end up promoting or dragging conversations on little or unnecessary things, which can also end up in quarrels. He can also be a bit childish, as Mercury is the significator for children. He may come across as immature for a relationship, which is why Mercury, being a child, is in Marana Karaka Sthana when placed in the 7th house of relationship or marriage. If Mercury and Saturn both are influencing the 7th house of your Navamsha chart, you can surely have homosexual tendencies. And if Mercury and Moon are placed in the Kama Trikona of the Navamsha chart, that is the 3rd house, 7th house, or the 11th house, the person himself will have excessive sexuality where he will have multiple relationships or affairs. I'll show an example chart for your reference in this regard. This is the Navamsha chart of Bill Clinton. We see that Mercury and Moon are not only placed in the 3rd house of his Navamsha chart, but this conjunction of Mercury and Moon is also in the sign of Scorpio. The rule is, if Mercury and Moon or Mercury and Venus are in Scorpio in the Navamsha chart, then regardless of whichever house in the Navamsha chart Scorpio is placed, such a person will have multiple relationships or affairs. So in Clinton's case, it is well known that apart from the affair with Monica Lewinsky, he did have affairs with many other women as well. Now, as I've told you before, that the 7th house of Navamsha chart also shows your sexuality, that is how much sexual drive you have and whether your sexual desires are within the boundaries of dharma or will they make you go beyond dharma. All this we can see from the 7th house of your Navamsha chart. So Jupiter by itself in the 7th house of Navamsha chart will make sure that you are a person who will never do anything which goes beyond dharma in matters of sexuality. So when Jupiter is placed in your Navamsha Lagna, you will be a very learned man, but this will not guarantee your good character in sexuality. But Jupiter in the 7th house of Navamsha chart will guarantee that you have a good character in matters of sexuality. In extremity, with Jupiter in 7th house of Navamsha chart, your attitude towards sexuality can be that it is an act to be engaged in only when you want children. Now Jupiter in the 7th house will send a partner who can be extremely learned. Our scriptures mention that a person from Jupiter will be Mahapaṇḍita. So the partner from Jupiter can surely have the knowledge of scriptures and religious books. And when he has so much knowledge, he is likely to impart it to you as well. So you can end up learning a lot from your partner. Now the disadvantage of having a partner from Jupiter can be that because the partner is extremely religious and spiritual, you may end up feeling that the romance and the sexual aspect of the relationship is lacking. In this regard, I just feel the need to mention in short that it is only the first relationship or marriage that we see from the 7th house of our Navamsha chart. For every subsequent relationship or marriage, we just have to keep jumping to the 8th house. That is, the second relationship or marriage will be seen from the 2nd house of Navamsha chart, as counting from the 7th house, the 8th house will be the 2nd house. Likewise, the third relationship will be seen from the 9th house of Navamsha chart, the fourth relationship will be seen from the 4th house of Navamsha chart, and so on. So for example, if you have Moon or Venus in the 7th house of your Navamsha chart showing your sexual drive being above average, and if Jupiter is in the 2nd house of your Navamsha chart, then your second partner will be Jupiterian in nature, and hence in your second relationship you can feel a lack of romance because you don't have Jupiter influencing the 7th house of your Navamsha chart, which could curtail your sexual drive to average or below average. And lastly, because Jupiter is a religious and a spiritual planet, a relationship given by Jupiter can also be a spiritual relationship or companionship. Now, if Venus is in the 7th house or in any other house which gives a subsequent relationship, your partner will have beautiful eyes. The eyes and eyelashes will be a beautiful or a prominent feature on the face of your partner. The eyelashes of the partner could also be beautifully longer compared to the eyelashes of other human beings. Partner will be interested in beauty products, makeup products, or going to the parlor. And because Venus rules clothes, your partner will be very particular about good branded clothes. So if you want to impress your partner, you have to wear good clothes. So one way to see how strong your Venus is to see what kind of clothes you're wearing. Because stronger your Venus is, the more expensive and branded clothes you will be wearing. So one way to strengthen your Venus is to spend your money on good branded clothes. And you should wear such clothes and not just keep them in the closet for special occasions. Always remember that Venus rules all the material comforts and luxuries of life. Now, Venus in the 7th house will give you an above average sexual drive. And regarding a relationship given by Venus, the couple may not only fall in love with each other, but there can also be an aspect of lust or physical attraction towards each other, which may lead the couple to form a voluntary sexual union. But when with the passage of time, if there is a problem in the compatibility between the couple, the attraction can start to wear off. So apart from love, the physical attraction or lust to make love with each other can bring two people together when Venus is giving a relationship. Partner from Venus can surely have a visual memory, and partner can also be interested in either painting or interior designing, fashion designing, beauty products, entertainment business, or any other thing ruled by Venus. Now, if Saturn is in the 7th house of your Navamsha chart, it is likely that your partner will be older than you. But this may not be the case in every relationship given by Saturn. If Saturn is strong, partner will be hardworking and could also be a workaholic, as Saturn is the significator for hard work and labor. Partner can be traditional, orthodox and religious. But if Saturn is weak or afflicted, partner will be lazy, irreligious and can even say bad things about God and religion. If Saturn is strong or in own sign or exalted, your partner can be very beautiful, as Saturn is also the significator for body beauty. A positive Saturnine partner may not wear too many clothes and may want to flaunt his beautiful body. And as Saturn rules iron and muscles, the partner can also be interested in bodybuilding or going to the gym. Now let me talk about the negatives of Saturn. See, Saturn is a Vayu Tattva planet and Vayu is separative in nature. Saturn is also a cold planet. So when a relationship is given by Saturn, there is a possibility that with the passage of time, some coldness can come in the relationship or separation can happen. Saturn is also a cruel planet, so if a partner is coming from Saturn or if Saturn is in any way associated with the 7th house of your Navamsha chart, you can see cruelty from your partner in some form or manner. And as the 7th house of your Navamsha chart is the Lagna of your first partner, just like the 2nd house of your Navamsha chart will be the Lagna of your second partner and so on. So if you have Saturn in the 7th house, this will mean that Saturn is in the Lagna of your first partner, and as we all know that Saturn in Lagna is a Marana Karaka Sthana placement for Saturn, therefore it can result in your partner experiencing sorrow in some form or manner. Now these are the Navamsha charts of Alia Bhatt and Nick Jonas. They both have Saturn in the 7th house of their Navamsha charts and both their partners are much older than them. On the other hand, Ranbir and Priyanka have Mercury in the 7th house of their Navamsha charts, signifying that their partners are much younger than them. Now Rahu in the 7th house will surely give a partner who either belongs to a different community, culture or religion. Partner can also be a widower or someone who had a relationship or marriage before he came into your life. If Rahu is your Atmakarak and is placed in the 7th house, then this may be a very karmic relationship where your partner can definitely cheat on you. Rahu Ketu in the 1-7 axis will make sure that you only have one relationship or marriage in life, and this can only be overruled if Jupiter or Mercury are placed in or lording the 2nd house of Navamsha chart, which rules the second relationship. Partner represented by Rahu will definitely be an overthinker. Partner can also be very shrewd in planning and plotting things. He can also be good in research. Partner may like to travel a lot. And if Rahu is weak or afflicted, partner can also be very confused about things in life. Now, person with Rahu in the 7th house will have an excessive desire for sex, as Rahu is a bhogi. And this desire for sex can be very animalistic, that is, such a person's sexual desire and habits can come across as very gross, vulgar or indecent. So when such a person also gets a partner from Rahu, then sex for such a couple can be very animalistic rather than it being an act of love. These excessive sexual tendencies will be curtailed if there are contradictory combinations in the Rashi chart or the Somnath Drikana chart, which is a divisional chart for seeing a person's sexuality. Now, as I have been talking about these malefics like Saturn and Rahu in the 7th house of Navamsha chart, let me explain a situation which can even lead to a person getting raped. So this is the Navamsha chart of Gloria Allred. She is an American attorney and she was raped in her mid-20s. Now in her Navamsha chart, Jupiter is in the 7th house. This Jupiter in 7th house is showing her sexuality. So she has a very good character when it comes to sexuality. But what I want to point out in this chart, that 1/7th Lord Venus is debilitated and is conjoined Mars, and the other 7th Lord Moon is in Aquarius with Rahu, and Rahu is the co-lord of Aquarius. So both the 7th lords are completely destroyed. Saturn is also having Rashi Drishti on the 7th house, showing that she will see cruelty in some form or manner. So the rule is, if the 7th lord is associated with a highly inimical planet to the extent that the 7th lord is absolutely suffering defeat and humiliation, then it can lead to rape. Because if the 7th lord is defeated and humiliated, you may be defeated and humiliated. And because of the rape, she also became pregnant because Moon is one of the 7th lords, and as I've told you before, that Moon associating with the 7th house can show pregnancy. And because this Moon showing pregnancy is in Aquarius, which in the Navamsha chart is the sign which shows permanent loss, therefore she had an abortion of this pregnancy. The remedy for such a scenario lies in strengthening the 7th lord so it can come out from the defeated state. With this, let me now talk about Ketu in the 7th house of Navamsha chart. Now, if Ketu is in the 7th house of Navamsha chart, the partner, depending on whether Ketu is positive or negative, will be a perfectionist. That is, your partner will seek perfection in everything he does. Now, there are things taught by Guruji to see whether Ketu is positive or negative, which I will refrain from mentioning on YouTube. But what I will mention is that if Ketu is positive, the partner will be spiritual. And if Ketu is negative, partner can have an extreme bad behavior. Because a positive Ketu rules a sadhu, but a negative Ketu rules thieves and terrorists. So a bad Ketu can be worse than Mars. In the positive, Ketu can make your partner obsessively and dedicatedly fall in love with you. In the negative, Ketu can make your partner completely detached from you, where you may not have any marital bliss at all. Now, if there is a joint influence of Mars and Ketu on the 2nd house or the 6th house of the Navamsha chart, the partner can resort to physical violence against the native. While if Mars and Ketu are jointly influencing the 8th house or the 12th house of the Navamsha chart, the native can resort to physical violence against his partner. This is because Mars-Ketu association is Pishacha Yoga, which indicates extreme anger, where the person can lose control over his mind and a split personality can come up in which the person can even resort to violence. So this was my lecture on planets in the 7th house of Navamsha chart and the nature of your spouse, marriage and your sexuality. If you like this lecture, you may give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of such lectures, you may subscribe to my channel, and for consultations, you may visit my website www.viyaanastrologist.com. Thank you.